Well, everybody, welcome back to the Trig Podcast with Joey and Gosa TV on this beautiful Friday. Indeed, it's Friday. You know, I wish every Friday night I would have a place to play music, worship my songs. If I had a band, I have a bunch of music that I've made and created over the years, both lo-fi as well as songs about love and God and faith. And that's what I wish I was doing. What are you doing tonight? And by the way, if you do have a place where you need some amazing music, entertainment, or worship, church, of course, which I love, obviously, then please leave me a comment below. By the way, I have this card here that my friend, shout out to my friend Francisco, gave me. Maybe you can't see it. It says Ministry Victory. So you could say life victory. How do you have victory in life? Well, he has 5 things: what, who, where, when, how, why, root cause, lesson, learn, next steps. So, for example, if you want to succeed and have victory at your job, for example, ask yourself, okay, what is this? Okay, this is something I don't really like that much, but I have to do it. Who am I doing it for? Who am I doing it with? Okay, I'm doing it for my boss, for God, for my family. Where? Okay, where do I have to go? Okay, I have to go, get there on time, 6 a.m. I have to leave at 4, whatever it is. When? Same thing, the time and the place. How? Okay, how do I do my job? Okay, in my case, let's say music. I have to bring my guitar, make sure it's tuned. And then why? Okay, what's the root cause? What's the real reason why I'm doing this besides money or providing for my family? Well, perhaps it could be because I want to be the best, or I want to make lots of money, or I want to serve other people. Lesson learned. Okay, what are you learning in the process? Okay, maybe this is not quite me. I think I want this. I don't want to put up with this person. And then next steps. Now that maybe this is over, or maybe I'm not feeling good about this. What's my next step? Okay, I need to start my own business. I need to work more hours. I need to work less hours. I need to be more disciplined. So very good life victory card. So shout out to my friend Francisco. Speaking of battles and victory, I'm a big fight fan. Maybe you are too. And so tomorrow, Katie, what's her name? Okay, Katie, it's not Serrano. Amanda Serrano is who she's fighting. Katie Taylor, Irish, versus Amanda Serrano, who is a Puerto Rican girl from Brooklyn, I believe. They're fighting tomorrow. And I'm a big, as I said, fight fan. And Jake Paul is promoting Amanda. And Eddie Hearn, or Matchbox, I think, is promoting Katie Taylor, Irish boxer. And so I'm excited, looking forward to that. And I think, let's see, what else? Yes, yesterday, shout out to all of my students. Last night, we started our guitar, voice, eventually beat making workshops. So I'm teaching in Santa Ana on Thursday night. So if you are interested in being a part of these workshops, it's free for my church, but for everyone else, it's $100 per person. And so I look forward to helping you if you would like to learn more about music and beat making and all the rest. So I think my volume, by the way, is kind of low for what I'm noticing there. Oop, I might have peaked there, so sorry about that. Okay, I think that might be better. Let me fix that. Just here. I think that's okay. Okay. Well, maybe I'll just get closer to this. I just sometimes notice that the meter is a little low. This is still kind of low. So let me see here if I can just add a little bit more volume there. I think that might be better. Okay. We'll go with that. Sometimes there's a buzz on some of these interfaces. So anyway, we'll just keep rolling. How to not let doubters get you down. How to not give in to doubters. So I was speaking of fights, I was listening to Jake Paul. Jake Paul is the ex-YouTuber, fighter, now promoter, 25. And the promoter, Eddie Hearn, who's promoting Katie Taylor, he's more like maybe my age, maybe younger, in his 40s. But he was saying how he doesn't think that Jake Paul is going to ever be a world champion in terms of boxing. And so, of course, that offended Jake Paul, and he was saying how he is betting Eddie Hearn $1 million that Amanda Serrano is going to win and beat Katie Taylor. So they have all this bet going on. But what Jake Paul was saying that kind of got me thinking about my own life. He was saying that he had a high school teacher who told him that he would never mount up to anything, and how he's heard his whole life how he couldn't become a fighter, a YouTuber, a TV person, a whatever, and how he keeps basically proving everyone wrong. And he even literally said that while Eddie Hearn was talking, that he was just having it go in one ear and out the other. And I thought, man, that is the right attitude when it comes to people that don't believe in you. Because Eddie Hearn was saying that the reason why he doesn't believe in him is because that this is not teaching, this is not school, this is boxing, this is not YouTube, this is boxing, this is different. And then Jake Paul came back to him and said, yeah, that's what everyone has told me my whole life, that, okay, YouTube is different, TV is different, boxing is different, everything is different. And it's true. The people that have the power, the control, the history, the experience in a certain area will always tell us newcomers, or you, the new person, the new kid on the block, that this is different. The rules are different. You don't understand. Your rules or your way is not going to fit. And here's the truth. They are right. The rules are different. But what we do, those of us and you are the same way, who are people that are achievers and who are pioneers. We make our own rules. We play by the rules of the game as it's established to kind of get our footing, but then we quickly begin to remake the rules to fit who we are, and most of all, to do what we are here to do in this life. And so, hold on, give me a second really quick. I'll be right back. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I was thinking how when there are people that are in establishment, you always have to, in some ways, make them happy, at least to get your foot in the door. That's if you're going into let's say the media environment, where things have been done a certain way for hundreds, thousands of years. Boxing, that's what Eddie Hearn was saying, that he's more into legacy, the legacy of boxing. Well, here comes Jake Paul and Logan Paul, his brother, and they, as YouTubers and influencers, they have millions of fans and followers. And guess what Eddie Hearn wants? He wants more people. He wants Jake Paul's millions to come over and pay DAZN and basically bring more eyeballs, as he calls it, to his platform. And so, in some ways, not only do they need each other, but Jake Paul is, you could say, the future. Now, to Eddie Hearn's point, Jake Paul can't just start boxing, meaning he's not starting boxing. The sport of boxing has been around for hundreds of years, so it's not as if Jake Paul is going to come up with his own sport. Even Elon Musk, he's having to go through all the normal things of NASA and stuff so that he can then create SpaceX and then do his own thing and go to Mars. So you have to kind of start with what's already there. But I think the reason why this is so important is because sometimes we, as creatives and prophets, pioneers, as forward thinkers, visionaries, and teachers, we can either come on too strong or we leave people behind. Or maybe, I think even worse, we let people take the sail out from under us or take our dreams away. I know that I have fallen victim to both, or I have allowed to become victim to both, either people's opinions, or even worse, just simply saying, okay, I guess they're right, and I guess I'm going to just not do this anymore. Either thing, I'm still playing with the volume here, either thing is a waste of time. I remember a friend, a mentor of mine, a while back, and I was complaining to him. I was 21, a young man, just starting in ministry, and I remember complaining to him saying, Why are they taking? We were planning this one Sunday that was going to be more of a traditional music type of thing. Back then, more guitar and drum driven music worship was new. And so the establishment wanted choir and piano and more the traditional organ sound. Well, I knew that what I was doing was bringing in more people, more eyeballs. I was the Jake Paul coming into the party. But the establishment, this is still too hot, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if that's better. Pop, pop, the explosives, they say. But the establishment was saying, no, this Sunday is not about you, kid, even though you have way more people than we do. You have to play by our rules. And I was so upset. So I went to one of my mentors and he said, Trig, just give them this one Sunday. You have the other 51 to do whatever you want. And that really helped me to kind of have perspective on how to give the establishment the one thing so you can have the 51 other weeks. And then I also was complaining to him or saying, but it's just they're so slow and I need people that want to run fast like I do and like we do. And he said, you're right. But you have to know that in a group of people, there are only going to be a few people that are going to run as fast as you. Everyone else will either not care, doubt, or get in the way. Or they might join along eventually. The point is run your own race. And I think that that's the lesson that I have been thinking about for you as a creative, as a young person who is doing things that are unconventional, using maybe music or media or Instagram or TikTok to promote your work, your efforts, but you're bumping up against tradition and people in power. I guess my advice to you would be is give them the 1 week. You have the other 51 Sundays. Look for the people that do run fast like you, and the rest, just ignore them. Who cares? Just there, as I said, either people that you don't need, or perhaps in due time, they will come over on your side, to your side, and you can then bless them and be a blessing and love them as well. And so I would say the other thing to keep in mind is that sometimes there is wisdom in us slowing down, at least for that one Sunday. For example, a story that I was just thinking about with my friend, Water Walker. Shout out to my friend Water Walker. Here's my bell right there. Goes the bell right there. I was remembering with him a story of when I used to run 10Ks and half marathons. And I never ran a marathon, but I used to run a ton of 5Ks and 10Ks. When we lived in Boulder, Colorado, or in Denver, Colorado, shout out to my friends in Colorado, by the way, I ran the Boulder, which is a 10K. Beautiful. The Colorado Rockies, the mountains are just gorgeous. I think it's in May, so my goodness, the weather's just beautiful, and all the students at CU Boulder are out partying and having a good old time. So I was running the 10K, and the finish line is at Falcom Stadium at CU, Colorado State University. They're in Boulder, a gorgeous stadium, kind of like the LA Coliseum here in LA. Outdoor with the beautiful mountains, my goodness, just gorgeous, up at Mile High. But as I said, it was like maybe in May, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, just gorgeous, gorgeous day. So I ran the last, I don't know what that last lap is, quarter mile, maybe a half a mile, last lap around the track. And I saw Rochelle, my wife, and our kids on the Jumbotron. And so I was so excited. People were cheering. I felt like, I don't know, like Usain Bolt. I was just running, and in my mind, I was going to finish and win the race. And I was probably like 100 out of 1,000 people. But, I did pretty well. So I was focused on winning the race, right? Suddenly, my brother Larry, how are you, my brother? Yes. Thank you for the comment, my brother. Yeah, I see it there. What does that say? Let's see. I don't know if I can see that on the chat. Let me move it up there. Love it. Pick up your cross and run your race. Yes, exactly. Pick up your cross. So that's a beautiful verse, my brother Larry. So yeah, shout out to my brother Larry. By the way, I was just mentioning our story, my dear friend. Big blessings and love to you. So we were running and talking about how to, the grace of slowing down and the value of slowing down. So as I was running that last lap, this lady came up next to me, and I could tell she was done. She just didn't have any more energy to run. And she comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, please help me, young man. Can you help me?" And she was like hanging on to me and slowing me down. I was tired. I was ready to finish this race and to win my gold medal and have my wife and kids just hug me. And I wasn't there to help anyone else, right? I mean, come on. I'm tired. I'm done. But this lady was like, "Oh, please, this is the last lap. Please, young man, please help me." And I had that moment, that choice that I had to make in that moment. And not that I thought of all these things, but it definitely, it crossed my mind. I thought, do I really want to help this lady? She's going to slow me down. Plus, it's not going to look good on camera, right? I mean, what if I take a picture of me, instead of me looking all slim and fast and my muscles and everything, I've had this lady hanging on to me, this midlifer, this 40-year-old lady hanging on to me, and here I am being like her son or something. And it crossed my mind for a second, but I slowed down. I literally, she was holding onto my shoulder. I think I kind of let her grab my arm, and I kind of picked her up a little bit, and I could tell she was definitely slowing down and maybe wouldn't have finished the race. I can pretty much say, thinking back, that she wouldn't have finished if I hadn't helped her. So I pretty much slowed down to a crawl, just walking instead of running and being all in my youth and in my element. I slowed down, and we basically just walked the last quarter mile. And we both crossed the finish line, and she gave me a big hug, and my wife was so proud of me that I helped this little old lady. And of course, my kids didn't even care. They were just glad to see me, and they thought I was a champion no matter what. But looking back on that moment, I think of it often, because it taught me a bigger lesson about the need to slow down. That there are times when the victory is in the slowing down. Like my mentor said, just give them this 1 week. You can have the other Sundays to yourself. Like Jake Paul, he's saying, you know what? Every teacher I've had has said, you can't do it. Let them believe that. I'm going to just let it go in one ear and out the other. I think the other lesson, the second lesson, is the importance of eventually making room for people on your train or on your bus, for people who might be haters or maybe who are in disbelief, who don't quite see what you see. Here's what I mean. Sometimes when let's say we push those people away, people that don't get you, that maybe even come strong against you. When you and I divide and we reject those people, we're really hurting ourselves. Not only are we showing our true colors and our lack of love, but we're also dividing the world into haves and don't haves, into black and white, into lovers and haters. The reality is that we need each other. We all are in this journey called life. We all are needed in order to celebrate this beautiful experience of life. We are a body. We're not black and white, gangster and politician. We're not left and right. We're not Christians and non-Christians. We are a human race. Because as Jesus says, once you were without hope, once you were dead in your transgressions, remember how once you also were enemies of God? So why does God say, remember that you were once them? Because those are the very people that we need to help. We need them in our lives, even with their hate. I can honestly say that I was advising somebody who was asking me about similar stuff, haters and people that doubt. And I said, most people that have said mean things to me, I've assumed that they were right. Not in the moment because of my immaturity, because we are so self-righteous kind of people. But as I mature and as I learn more about the truth of God and the truth of life, I've pretty much accepted that they were right. Even if in the moment, or even if today, I don't completely agree with what they say. Because when you submit, this is biblical. We are to submit to one another. Now, submission is a posture of humility. It's not being a victim. That's different. It's not having PTSD because of abuse. That's different. We're not talking about trauma, which is a whole different category that I also have many videos about. But when it comes to just simply the ego, when we submit to one another in Christ, when we submit to our leaders, to our wives, it could be to the mechanic, the person who's installing your stereo or changing your tires or changing your oil. When you submit to someone that's maybe weaker, younger, less experienced, who really has nothing, quote unquote, to offer you, you are being like Christ. You are learning true leadership and true power because you are acting in humility. The Bible calls it maturity. When you and I react or act in humility, even when offended, we're being like Christ. I mean, what was the example of Christ? It says that he said nothing. That even though he was being crucified, spat upon, abused, called all kinds of horrible names, being mocked, he said nothing. He said that he was led like a sheep to a slaughter. And if you've ever seen sheep, they don't make a lot of noise. They're not exactly gorillas or lions or tigers. They are led quietly to their death. Now, as I said, we're not talking about victimization or about abuse or trauma. We're talking about a posture of the heart. When I look back at the 30 years of church ministry and the hundreds of church leaders who have doubted, abused me, said horrible things, church leaders, people in power, about my music, about my preaching, about my color, about you name it. And if I look back and think they were all wrong, they're all going to hell and I hope they die, really, I'm reflecting my own death. I'm reflecting the very cancer that is killing me. If instead I think, thank you, Lord. Thank you for what that person said. Because everything they said was true. See, the minute that you and I open ourselves to having truth come from anywhere, then you're opening yourself up to power. Because the Bible says that whatever is true, whatever is lovely, think on these things. Now, when someone, let's say, says, you ugly person, black, whatever, blah, blah, you immigrant, you illegal, whatever, right? None of those things are true, nor do I believe them. But when people may say that in church, which all these things have happened to me, and they happen to you, right? If I go around thinking, man, I'm nothing, I'm worthless, okay, then that's the devil. But when I go around saying, don't tell me who I am, who do you think you are? Then I'm rejecting truth. I'm rejecting even an iota of truth that may be in that person's, even in their cruelty, there may be a drop of truth. If you reject everything, if you throw everything out, then you're isolating yourself. No one can tell you anything. That's a horrible place to be when no one can tell you anything. When you can't listen to criticism or input, or no one can say anything because you blow up or you become victimized and you cry and you act like a baby. Both things are immaturity. Maturity is to say, okay, take it like a man, take it like a woman, and then reject whatever is not for you. Let God be the one who decides. But even more, I would say, go as far as to agree with everything they say. Just in theory, just on paper. Now, I know that sounds like, what? What are you talking about? Are you really going to let people call you names and things? Remember that when people criticize you, they're criticizing themselves. When I criticize someone, judge someone else, I'm just reflecting what's in my own heart. And so when someone speaks evil against you, they're speaking evil towards themselves. Now, what did Jesus say we're supposed to do with evil? Resist the evil one, right? So we have to resist the evil, but we have to still love the person. We can resist the evil intentions, the evil words, the evil heart that people have. We're supposed to defeat the enemy, but we're supposed to love people. But most of us, we just throw everything out. We hate the person and their words and their actions and the devil and their mom and their parents and everyone else. That's where we become racist, violent people who really no one likes to be around. I've been that person. I can be that person very easily. And that's why I am more... Now, here's another thing that happens. When you go around hating everyone who maybe says something about you, then what happens is that you let that stuff hold or take root in your heart. So I remember weeks ago, someone was criticizing something I wrote online. I like to write. And so someone was saying, well, no, actually it was some candles that I had on my live stream. I had a live stream, and you see back there some little cups and things and a cross. I had a candle. It was, I think, for Lent or something. Or maybe it was just a candle. And someone online, people they're like, oh, that is of the devil. And I really let that comment linger in my mind for weeks, months maybe. Not even about the candles, but about how much I hate this person and I can't believe and I blocked them, all over a candle. The reality, I don't even know this person. The reality is that maybe that person is triggered by candles. Maybe for them, in their culture or in their religion or whatever, the candles were evil. Maybe someone used candles against them. They had a problem with them, and they were just projecting or throwing that to me. Because I didn't have the maturity to simply say, you know what, that's fine. Okay, I accept you. I'm sorry. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to I don't have to agree. I don't have to go and change all my set and everything for every comment that I hear. But if I don't open my heart to people, then that stuff lingers in your heart like it did for me, for that candle. It took me weeks. Now when people will say things about whatever it may be, it's like people say, you have to develop a thick skin, not of hate and of, oh, don't tell me what to do. Some of that is good. Nor is it one of, oh, I'm worthless. But just one that lets things go in one ear, like Jake Paul said, and out the other. It's a very healthy thing. Now, sometimes people can fake that. I know I can be a fake when it comes to that and many things, but when it comes to that and say, well, that didn't bother me. Only I really know if it bothers me, right? Only we know how deep things can hurt us. And I would say use how deep something as simple as candles bothers you, meaning someone's comment, as to gauge how immature we are. That's really what I do. I think, wow, if a comment about candles can throw me for a loop for months, that shows my immaturity. Imagine if I got some real hate, or if the devil really was after me. I doubt that the devil was using this person's comments to try to bring me down. It's an opportunity for you and me to grow in maturity, in strength. That's why the Bible says, Philippians 4, whatever is true, whatever is lovely, think on these things. When someone says hurtful words, think on what's true about what they're saying. Think about what's lovely about that person. Think about what is kind about that person. Reality is that a lot of the people that sometimes say hurtful things, they were kind at one point. They were kind maybe even just the moment before that comment. You and I have to stay. Hold on, give me another moment here. Hold on, I'll be right back. So the point is that I think we are mature when we learn to open our hearts, whatever is true. So today, what is true? Even about people that have hurt you. What is lovely about that person who you're not seeing eye to eye with? Something that really has helped me with that is, of course, the Word of God. But also learning about different personality types, about different priorities. I was telling a story the other day about a guy who was kind of calling me on having things written down and how I need to map everything and have numbers for everything and have it all written down. In the moment, I didn't really say much, but it kind of got underneath my skin for the next couple of days. And I ranted and raved just underneath my breath. As I began to think about this verse of what is true and about personalities, there's this one personality type, they call them the reformers. Reformers are people that, without meaning to, they are the perfectionists. They really get worked up when things aren't done their way. Maybe you know someone like that. So I can tell as I was kind of looking back on this conversation I had, that this person is most likely what they call the reformer or the perfectionist. Now, that's good to understand people, but even deeper than that, the reason why some people are called the reformers or perfectionists is because when they were young, they had a wound that perhaps most likely with their parents, they were never told that what they did was good enough. For whatever reasons, they learn early in life that in order to be loved or to not have conflict, that you had to be perfect. You couldn't make mistakes. You couldn't color outside the lines. You couldn't have your hair be messy. You couldn't have your car be dirty. And so, or as a child, of course, you couldn't get bad grades or you couldn't be a little loud, even though you're 5. So you learn that in order to keep the peace at home with mom, dad, whatever it is, you had to be perfect. Act perfect. Not that you were perfect. Of course, we aren't perfect. But you had to kind of act a certain a role. And so as that person becomes an adolescent, as they become young adults in their 20s, now they become parents in their late 20s, 30s, whatever it is, they carry that wound that they call it an unconscious motivation. It's this unconscious response that they carry in their hearts, in their bodies, in their trauma, in their emotions, that goes back to those experiences, that whenever, let's say, in my case, some guy comes in like I did, and I don't have let's say a booklet for all that I'm doing. I didn't write everything down. That person unintentionally, without even realizing how they're coming across to me in that case, they come across as hyper perfectionists, as angry people that are mad because you didn't do it their way. See, a person who is unaware of people and reality and personalities and our own woundedness, people who are not empathic, who are reactionary themselves, who are always or usually triggered by everything, they will become violent. They will fight with everyone. I used to be that way. I used to fight not with my fists, but with my words, because God's given me this high IQ and this high EQ. It's easy for me to destroy people just with my thoughts, kind of like Spock. Remember, if you are old enough to know Star Wars or Star Trek, I guess. That's a very dangerous and very useless gift under the power of Satan. It's very useful in the power of God because you can lift people and encourage them in just the right way. But if given over to Satan, that gift can destroy people, and it's violent. It's demonic. But when you understand in the spirit why people are the way they are, and you study personality, human personality, and you are a student, most of all, of yourself, of your own intentions, when you become aware of your own unconsciousness, then you have empathy for other people. There are people that try to manipulate me day and night, all day long. They think I don't know what they're doing. There are people that will try to flatter me, that will try to thank me more than needed, that will try to tell me what I need to hear. And because they think that I'm unaware, they kind of live in their own little world. And it's funny for me because not that I don't fall for it, okay? I mean, I'm human like everyone. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I fell for that one. And I'll laugh in the car or afterwards. But in my mind, I don't make a big fuss over it. I know that that person's trying to play me with their words or with their big ideas or with their plans or their empty promises. But I just play along because I'm not out to destroy everyone. Because that same thing in the Bible says, whatever you give, it comes back to you. So if I go around trying to destroy everyone's intentions, guess what's going to happen to me one day? They're going to destroy me. Because that's the law of life, of God, is we reap what we sow. If you sow, it says in the Bible, towards the flesh, then you will reap things of the flesh. But if we sow, meaning we plant seeds to the Spirit, meaning kindness, forgiving other people. You see what they're doing. They're trying to manipulate you. They're lying to you. They're overpromising whatever it is, or they're playing the victim. And you notice what they're doing, but you still give them love and empathy. You don't give in to their little tactics, but you show empathy. Then guess what comes back to you? Love and empathy. And so it is really the journey of life to just simply die to our flesh. It's like my brother Water Walker says here, to carry the cross. I love that analogy that Jesus said. Obviously, Jesus wasn't saying to pick up a literal cross, right? He literally carried a cross. But that's not what he meant. I'm not going to say here's what he meant. It's a deep thought to pick up your cross and follow me. Deny yourself. It's three things. Deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. But as of now, what I understand it to be, studying it and meditating and praying, etc., and all these things, is three things. First, when it says that we have to deny ourselves, that means we have to deny our natural instincts, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the sin of life, or the sin of the world. So those things that we think are so us. Oh, I just have to give in to lust. Oh, I'm just an angry person. Oh, I'm just a perfectionist. That's denying yourself. You know this about you. And the first step towards life in Christ, life of the Spirit, is you deny that about you. Denying doesn't mean that it's not there, or that you don't deal with it, or that it's suddenly gone. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to deny it. Deny it, it means that you don't give life to it. You don't give attention to it. You know it's there. It's that temptation. It's that sin. It's those unconscious motivations. But you walk away from them. If you see a beautiful woman and you're a man who's walking in integrity, you don't give in to that attraction, to that lust. And you deny that pleasure, that want, food, money, spending, perfectionism, anger, pride, you name it, the seven lusts of Proverbs 7, 7 deadly sins. Whatever your attraction is, your unconscious motivation, going back to that topic, you deny yourself. You deny what is the most natural thing for you. Carry the cross. Carry the cross now means that you move towards death. Carrying the cross now is the Via Dolorosa, right? It's when Jesus carried the cross, and he had Simon the Cyrene help him, this African man who helped him carry the cross on the way to Golgotha. But it's a path. It's a walking. You're no longer just denying and saying no to the candy. Now you're literally walking in death, walking in surrender. That means that now you're acting differently. So instead of you giving in to that lust of that beautiful woman, or that fancy car, or if you're a man or a woman, of that perfect body that you wish you had, or the perfect marriage that you long for, that romantic man, oh, if my husband was more like him. If you want that, you deny it. Now you're carrying the cross. That means now you are going to go say to your husband, I love you no matter what. Or you tell yourself even better, man, my husband is the best husband I've ever had. True, not true, it doesn't matter. You're carrying the cross. You are denying what you could want, which is hard enough. All three are impossible without Christ. Second, though, you are walking towards the thing that really is true. That your wife is the best cook ever. That your life is blessed. That your kids are obedient. Even if they're running around making noise and breaking things. You are denying what your flesh wants you to believe. You're carrying the cross, meaning you are acting and speaking and moving in sacrifice and surrender. And then you deny yourself, carry the cross, and follow me. Follow me means that now you are embodying goodness. You're now embodying the Spirit of God. So instead of you, let's say, denying yourself, let's say your child spills water on your brand new computer. Oh my goodness. Really great example, right? Imagine, right? As a producer, we're all into our computers, and then you have your 5-year-old, your 2-year-old drop milk or juice on your laptop. What's the natural reaction? Pat, hit, yell, scream, shake, abuse, or laugh and act like it doesn't bother you. Both are really just the flesh, right? So you deny that. Carry the cross. What does that look like? Carrying the cross in that moment would probably look like you cleaning your computer and buying a new one, or doing whatever you can to dry it off and hope that it still works. Man, that's painful, right? You're ignoring your son, your daughter. You're not doing what your flesh wants. You're denying your flesh, denying yourself. Carrying the cross is now you have to suffer the consequences, or not the consequences, the price. Something you didn't want. You weren't asking for anyone to mess up your laptop. But now you have to deal with this mess. It's not even your mess. That's carrying the cross. And then following Jesus means that you turn around and your 2-year-old is probably like, what's dad going to do? Or maybe, most likely, they're playing and on to the next thing. But following Jesus, following him, deny yourself, carry the cross, and follow me, means you go to your son and you say, you gently talk to him. You say, Johnny, Daddy really loves his computer. It's what he uses to preach messages, to make music, to worship God, to play videos that you enjoy. Maybe it's the iPad, right? And then, of course, if he's 2, you're not going to have some rational discussion, okay? But let's just say you're practicing for the future, right? And you say, and it really hurt me. It was frustrating that my computer now doesn't work. But you know what, son? I'll fix it. I was kind of getting ready to get rid of this anyway, and I'm going to buy a new one. Or you know what? Guess what? Good news. It works. So, hey, why don't we both damp it or dry it off together? Okay? So I'm going to give you your own laptop. Maybe you can give him an old phone, and we can practice. This is way more than you would ever do. I'm just kind of teasing it out. Let's both dry off our computers. And you create a little bit of a lesson. You're not going to overdo it, and this is too much already, but you get my point, right? You're walking with Christ. So you deny yourself, carry the cross, and follow me. Now, obviously, life gives us all such horrible and difficult tests. Way harder than a laptop and your child, right? Pain and grief and financial woes and conflict at home and personal sins and all the rest. Conflict at church and all that. We're tested daily. But the formula applies daily. Deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Follow me. Say no to the flesh. Do the work and act in love. Walk in love, like my brother Water Walker says. I think when we do those things, we will win our friends over. Didn't Jesus say, after all, to love our enemies? What I'm describing here, hopefully helping one person out there, is, or 2 or 3, whatever it is how to love our enemies. the process. I'm up in school. When I was in school and seminary, they had a class called process theology. I'm a process theology kind of person. Because that's just how I have lived my life. So that's what I teach, the process of how to become like Christ, of how to be gentle and to be more mature. And so this is the process of how to love our enemies, because it's so hard and so difficult. And so loving our enemies, how to respond to criticism, we're going to mess it up all the time. I mess up daily. The reason why these lessons are always on my mind is because I struggle with these things so much. But every time that I bump up against myself, against problems, I bust out my little card, like I was showing at the beginning. I try to think through, okay, wait, what's happening here? And if we can do that half the time, then man, that's a gozo day right there. That's a day of gozo, because we have won the victory at least half the time. And I think that's a good goal. It's a 50-50 kind of thing. If we can do the right thing in Christ 50% of the time, then man, you've had a great life, truly. Anything beyond that is just the gravy on top. It's the grace of God. Think of that as you face many trials and as you encounter many joys this weekend. Tonight, tomorrow, Sunday. By the way, Sunday I'm going to be leading worship with my beautiful son and my beautiful friends, Jeff and Michaela. Shout out to Vio Santa Ana. Last night, as I mentioned, I taught guitar and voice lessons. I'm going to do that maybe every week. It depends on the building and when it's open and all these things. So hopefully every week or maybe every other week. If you would like to take private lessons with me, it's only $100 a person. And so you can sign up at the link here at the bottom of this video. I also am a certified mental health coach, and I am getting certified as we speak as a certified life coach, spiritual life coach, to help people overcome their obstacles in life and to find what I came up with my own system, the ACL experience. And so I can teach you how to do the same things that I'm learning, things that I'm practicing, so that you can basically, ACL stands for Adventure, Crisis, and Love. We can go over basically how to find your God-given adventure, how to find grace in crisis, and how to discover what you love, who you love. A system I came up with, and that now I'm teaching to other people. And if you would like to become a life coach, then I also teach that, and that's only $1,000 a person to become a certified life coach through Trig Media and Gozo. Gozo Living. Gozo means joy, of course, in Spanish, and it's part of my coaching services. If you would like to record, speaking of my beautiful friend here at Water Walker, and be a part of our music ministry called Victorious Records, then also please sign up with us. We have opportunities for you in Christian hip hop to be one of the members of our community called Victorious Records. And we are moving, we're on the go, we're on the move. We are seeing God move in wonderful ways. We're just getting started, but we're already seeing blessings. And most of all, the inspiration that we feel when we come together to prophesy, to speak, and to rap, and to make beats for the glory of God. It's a beautiful thing. So please sign up for that. So follow me on Instagram at David Trigg. Make sure that wherever you're watching me, I think right now we're on different platforms, on Twitch and Instagram and all the rest, Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for being here. Make sure that you let people know about all of the things that I've been talking about, and share this teaching, this training, these workshops. Speaking of workshops, this summer I've already had a few people reach out to me to say, hey Trig, can you do a workshop on autotune or on EQing or on recording techniques or just on beat making? So we're going to do that this summer. Still working on all the details, but I'm thinking it'll be also $100 a person for whether it's a half day or something like that, a training that we do, maybe here at the studio, or maybe we'll go somewhere else with a nice big screen and everyone can bring their laptop and FL or Cubase or Ableton, whatever you use, Pro Tools and FL, And I'll walk you through, together with my brother Water Walker, the basics of beat making and performing or ministering of rap, and how to write, how to make your rap pop, how to record, how to deliver things with power, especially onto the microphone techniques, as well as for the non-rappers out there. I also, as I mentioned, I teach voice lessons, which probably is, I think, next to teaching the Bible, maybe my number one passion is to teach voice. My dad was a singer and a recording worship artist, and so I've always loved singing, and I've taken years of voice lessons and all the rest. So thank you. Let me know how we can help you. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Adios.